Oh, yeah. So what happened was I worked out there and I was in charge of we had education program from San Luis Coastal. And it was pretty good. We had graduations and all of that stuff for the inmates. And we found out some of the inmates then were going to get into trouble in Los Angeles, maybe doing a murder or something like that. And all of a sudden in their write-up in the LA Times, it would say, San Luis Obispo High School graduate. You know, we were giving them their degree in prison, but when they got down there, they sort of lost track of that. So the papers were very aware that it was San Luis degree, so we stopped giving their degrees out of the prison. I don't know, when you worked out there, I don't know whether they had those 25-cent haircuts? Did they?
No, they're $1 now.
Dollar?
Yeah.
Inmate?
It's 50 cents to shine your shoes.
Yeah, good. Okay. So I was going to take advantage of that opportunity, and I came in and sat down. And there were chairs along the wall, and maybe 5 or 6 guards waiting to talk or get a haircut. And a guard sat down next to me, and he says, "See that guy? He was very quiet." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, he's got a real interesting story. He was a barber in San Luis or in South Los Angeles." And he was doing pretty good, and then he hired a beautiful barber, and she was doing really good. He tripled his business. And then one day, another barber hired her away. So he was very concerned about that. He waited a day, and he took his straight razor and went over and cut that guy 72 dimes, and he bled to death right in his barber shop, right in front of the new hire. I said, "Damn, that's a hell of a story." Just then the guy turns to me and he says, "Next." So I got up in the chair and he says, "You want a haircut and a shave?" I said, "No, just a trim." That'll be fun. So anyway, those are the good old stories. I wanted to tell you one other story about CMC. I'm really talking to you, I guess. Back 50 years, 60 years ago, I had a really good basketball team. I had a guy 7 feet, a bunch of Cal Poly players, Cuesta players, and we were playing out of the prison. I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
Nothing outside.
Yeah. So at the time, it was a big deal. I think there were a lot of betting going on. They'd bring outside teams in. They had a really good team. They had 3 guys out of East Los Angeles that were all city, out of Los Angeles, out of high school. 2 from San Francisco, all city, and then other players. So they really had a really great team. And there was a lot of talk within the prison, I think, about our bringing this really good team in. So it went all, we were all set. You especially would know that when you come to the main entrance, they've got that a room about this long. And then you have to stand in there while the guards look down on you and make just sure who you are. They still do that out
The
there?
Sally Ports? Is that
What is it called?
The Sally Ports?
Well, I'll take your word for it. But anyway, my team comes in there, and these guards are looking down on us. So we're feeling a little uncomfortable, but we're going to play inside. So then the door opens, and there's a great big guy, 6'9" guy, about 260. He's waiting for us on the other side of the incline. He says, I'm an inmate, and I'm your guide." I don't know whether they do this anymore. And so I said, "You're going to take us to the gym?" "Yeah, follow me, stay close." So we gathered right around him, and we walked down through CMC and over into the gym. I don't know whether the gym's still there or not. It is. At the time, it was concrete, and it seated about 300 to 500 people. It was a pretty big deal for us to come in there. And this big guy showed us all in there, and he said, "Now your team can go warm up down at the other end of the court." And I said, "Well, there's a guy shooting down." He says, "I'll take care of it." He walks down to the other end, and I can see they're getting in an argument. I don't know why anybody would argue with this big guy. He got pushing him around, and suddenly the big guy reached over and got the guy by the face and pulled him forward and shoved him back into the chairs, and the guy left. And then we could go down and work out, warm up. I mean, he was big, and he was on their team. So the game starts, but before the game starts, the inmates started piling in. And I don't want to be racial or anything, but all the blacks were sitting over here, all the Hispanics were sitting over here, all of the Caucasians were sitting over here, and then they had a group of about 15 or 20 men dressed in women's cheerleader costumes. And so that was another group in the prison. So we weren't used to all of this. It was really a big change for us. We did pretty well. We were up by 5 at the half. The officials had official stripes on their shirts. And as I said, there was a lot of money bet inside the prison on this game because they knew they had a good team. So the officials are there, and I see this great big 6'9" guy go over at the halftime. We're up 5. And he reaches out and he puts his arms around all of the officials, all 3 of them. And I don't know what he said, but we never got a call the second half. And I think what he said was, man, you're not going to see these guys in here ever again. You're going to see me every day. So we lost, but we lost with grace, and we're glad to get out of there. One other thing that bothered the heck out of me was there was an inmate sitting behind me when I was on the bench, and he kept calling out about my baldness. That really ticked me off. And I was going up and say something to him, then I thought, no, maybe I won't go up in the stands. That wouldn't be a good idea. Anyway, that's one basketball story. Another one, I think I probably should move on to Atascadero State Hospital. We went out there and played them one time. Anybody been in Atascadero? Not, I don't think that's a connection. Oh, my face. So we played them in basketball. I don't know whether they still do that again or not. But Atascadero was very gracious when we came in, and we were beating them pretty bad. They didn't have a very good team. And they had a guy that was really good, and he got a breakaway, and he was going in for a layup, and he sort of stumbled when he was laying up, and he missed the basket completely, and then stumbled into the wall. And there were inmates there, too, watching, and they started laughing. And I didn't think it was appropriate for them to laugh, but they were laughing. And he turned around, and I've never seen a more murderous look on anybody's face. And they shut up. I mean, he was really going to bury them all if they laughed at his game. They weren't going to mess with him. Well, I'm afraid I've digressed quite a bit. I should talk to you a little bit more about Senior Olympics, I guess. I'm playing in the 80 to 85-year-old category now, and playing, I don't know whether that's a good word or not, but we've had several experiences. I thought you might be interested in some of those, and how competitive older men are. It's surprising. I've had at least 3 or 4 situations where men really got upset. One was in the Nevada State Championships, and I was playing, and I had an arm bar on a guy about 6'9". I got switched off on him. He was under the basket, and I might have been pushing him too hard. I don't know what happened, but he turned around, and he was going to catch me in the face, but I was so short compared to him. He was 6'9". He just brushed the top of my head. The official called him, and so I get a shot. I get to shoot the basket. So I'm starting to walk over there, and this guy comes up beside me, the 6'9" guy, and he says, he said, oh no, he didn't say that. He said, I'm going to hurt you bad. Now these are guys that's a 70-year-old. So that worked out okay, but it just showed how competitive these people were. We had another incident down in San Diego we were playing, and this guy, another 6'9", guy, big guys are always problems. No offense to anybody who's been here. And so in San Diego, and the situation was that we had a small guard on our team, and he tripped their guard first of all, and the big guy got really upset, but then it smoothed down, and then he tripped the big guy. And the big guy was going to kill him, I think. He was really outraged. But the official got, and he said, you sit over there, you sit over here, and that's it. So I was taking the ball out of bounds, and I felt something brush across my back, and it was the big guy going over to get my little guy, and he got down. The little guy was sitting in a chair because he was doing what he was supposed to do. The big guy leaned down, and he just got a hold of the legs of the chair, and you could see he was going to throw him over backwards. Oh, wow. But there were 2 LA police officers playing in the court right next to him. And the police officers must have been watching this, and they came over. I don't know what they did, but they came up on either side of this big 6'9" guy and got him in some kind of an arm bar up on his tippy toes and walked him out of the gym. Maybe you could all do that. I don't know. You could? Could you do that? Get them up and walk them out like that? Anyway, it was a breath of life for that. I wanted to just tell you a couple of more little stories. We were up at Stanford. This was 2 years ago. I'd been called by New Jersey. They had a team. They were quite good. They asked me to play on their team. I said I just had an operation on my knee. I don't think I'd help them too much. No, we want you to be on our team. We're flying out from New Jersey. We're going to play at Stanford University for the national championship, and we need another guy. Well, it's only a short drive up the coast, so I said, okay, I'll meet you up there. So I went up, and they were really good. They had a 6'4", 6'3", 6'2" team, which are giants in my age group, 75, 80-year-old age group. And they played really well. I got into play a little bit. We won 7 games in a row. I found myself sleeping on the grass. We did that in 3 days. I was exhausted. They were full of energy. And so we get to the championship game. And another 7-footer, this guy, and he played for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he's quite elderly. You know, he's old, but he's really good. And before the game started, he came up and got my big 6'4" guy by the arm like this and leaned down in his face and said, I'm going to bury your ass in the grass. This is good sportsmanship in the elderly group. and I would have been intimidated. You know, a guy 6'9" coming up grabbing by the... But these New Jersey guys, he made a terrible mistake. I mean, they just fired up. We were all tired, but they were just on fire then. They tripped him, they stepped on his feet, they grabbed his shorts. They did everything you could do to slow him down. Well, he's a big guy, you know, you were groaning a little bit. But they had to slow this big guy down, and they did. And it was tied. The score was tied with about 30 seconds to go in the game, and one of our guy that was guarding him fell out. And the coach turned to the bench and said, Morris, you're in. And I'm thinking, I'm going to guard that 7-footer. Doesn't sound very good. Anyway, I got up and I said, my wife said the whole gym was quiet because everybody was really focused on this. Who's this old guy going in to guard the 7-footer? And I said, oh shit. And I said it loud enough that the whole gym. I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, we went on and won the national championship. And I give those New Jersey guys all the credit. They were really. I participate in the shooting contest now mostly. And I shoot about 80% free throws and about 50% threes, mostly. So I enjoy that. That's a lot of fun. And does anybody have any questions about any of this?
Don't teach the Lakers how to shoot.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Because there's a guy named Dr. Tom Amberry, and he used to be in my age group. And he holds the Guinness Book of World Records for consecutive free throws. 2,750 in a row. And he did that when he was about 60 or 65, something like that. So he's quite a nice person and was very helpful to me in my free throw shooting. And they called him. The Lakers called him when Shaq was playing for him and said, Shaq isn't shooting very well in his free throws, and we'd like you to come down and take care of Shaq and help him with his free throws. So he got on the plane and flew in, got in the gym with Shaq, and Shaq was very arrogant. He didn't want this old guy, telling him anything. And then his final comment was, listen, when I need him, I make him.
Yeah.
Well, Shaq didn't make nothing. He was terrible, but he was very arrogant to this guy that had shot the 2,750 in a row. So that was a little disquieting for me. I thought he should have listened to this guy and what he was doing. My friends, I think I've talked long enough. I thank you very much for your courteous attention.
I hope I shoot as good as you.
What is your personal record?
Free throws in a row, I'm not very, I shot about 50, I think, is all. Not me, but that's, that's not great. That's okay, but.
Did you, in high school, did you play in high school?
Well, that's interesting, you should ask that. I got cut off our high school team. That really hurt me. When I got cut off of that, I ran track then, and I ran at Mount San Antonio College, and then I scholarshiped up to Cal Poly in 1950. So I was a track athlete, not a basketball player, but I covered.
Were you there with Hank Moronsky?
Oh yeah, great guy. You know Hank?
Yeah.
What a
And
yeah.
Bobby.
Bobby Neal?
Guy, he used to play basketball, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he used to,
But see, he used to be 7 feet tall.
It is for track, yeah, for track. I was a high and low hurdler, and in community colleges I placed third in the nation in both the highs and lows, and second in the 400-meter hurdles. So I felt pretty good about that, but then I switched over to basketball, and I'm glad I did. Thank you very much for your attention.
thank you, that's unbelievable. Yeah. So only they have that kind of electricity.
Oh, thank you.